Hello and welcome. My name is Evgeny Rusakov and you're watching TVP World Interview from Vilnius. We live in interesting times. We are literally screaming from everywhere about global warming and the risks it poses. We seem to be doing something about it, but the floods that happened in much of Europe last month suggest that we are not doing enough. To discuss floods in Europe, global warming and other related topics, we are joined today by the head of Department of Hydrology and Climatology at Vilnius University, Gintautas Stankūnavičius. Hello, Gintautas, and thank you for joining us today.
Hello.
Floods in Poland, Romania, Croatia, Czech Republic, and Nepal. On one hand, these are two different sides of the world, but all these floods, they happened in September with loads of casualties and all that stuff. So what is happening to our world at this specific moment, and why is this happening?
These are two different processes. For example, in Central Europe, we had an anomaly circulation pattern. It is called, in specific terms, blocking. It blocks Atlantic cyclones to go farther east, and they stayed in one place, or almost in one place, and all, let's say, collected water vapor, they transform to precipitation in specific area.
Okay, and all that was just literally poured on our
Right.
poor Europe.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, and what's with Nepal then?
And in Nepal, we had different situation because there is a part of monsoon circulation in southern Asia, and monsoon has some breaks or intensity. Intensity very variable. In it has some breaks during summer, some more intensive periods, and this probably was very intensive period when monsoon propagates farther north up to Himalayan mountains, and probably, I don't know exactly, some extratropical, it means non-tropical patterns can affect this monsoon, and they matched together. For example, atmospheric front from the north and monsoon from the south.
Okay, and that's where you get this flood in Nepal.
Right.
Okay, so as far as I understand, what happened in Nepal is actually, well, quite usual in that specific region. Do I get you right?
Yes, there is a place in northeastern India, Cherrapunji, where they usually get about 11 meters of precipitation per year.
Okay.
And 80% of this precipitation falls to the summertime.
Okay, okay. Okay, then let's come back to Europe. What happened in Europe in September? What's your take on this? I mean, is this usual for our region?
The last similar flooding was in the summer of 1997, but it was a little bit shifted to the north in Odra or Oder Basin.
Yeah.
But and amplitude was almost the same. And in 1997 we had very large inundations in the middle, lower reaches of Oder or Oder River. And now we had in 3 different basins, means Laba-Elbe upper reaches, Vltava in Czech Republic, and Danube with some delay.
I would like to discuss global warming, because from what I've read, global warming is actually one of the reasons why all these floods were happening in let's say, in Europe, for example. And it also increases the frequency and intensity of other extreme weather events, such as hurricanes and droughts. First of all, what's your take on this? Is global warming really guilty for what happened in Europe? I mean, regarding these floods?
I mean, partially. Let's say we are having increased temperature in atmosphere, but atmosphere has no memory, climatic memory. Ocean has memory, and ocean can accumulate the heat inside his upper layer, and when we have a warmer ocean, it produces more water vapor.
Okay.
So consequently, maybe we will have more frequent extreme rain events in Europe or in surrounded areas.
Could you say it would happen like every year, every 5 years,
No,
every
no, no.
10 years? No?
This flood in southwestern Poland and some parts of Czech Republic was with return period like once per 100 years. But as I said, very similar was in 1997, a little bit north.
Then there's my next question. How would the intensity of these events change in the future, and which regions would be the most vulnerable?
I guess the most vulnerable regions will be semi-arid areas. It means with seasonal precipitation, like Sahel region, monsoon regions.
Okay, we're not talking about Europe here.
I suppose not. Especially Northern Europe. Central and Southern Europe could be affected more than Northern Europe.
Because of Mediterranean Sea, I guess.
Mediterranean Sea and, let's say, for example, Mediterranean main precipitation gets its winter, and we get almost equally around the year.
Okay.
So if Mediterranean gets no or very little precipitation in winter, it means long-lasting drought.
How would all this affect the situation with, let's say, migration, for example?
You mean population?
Yes, well, population
we
moving
know
wise.
it's very, very well-known process when people came and are coming from example, from Sahel region to France and some other countries because of the long-lasting drought.
Let's move on then. Rising sea levels, climate change and weather anomalies are already causing economic damage, as I've already said, in different regions of the world. So how can economies adapt to new climate conditions and minimize social and economic risks? What's your take on this?
Very hard question because so many measures. We should stop cut forests. We should have more protected areas like swamps, wetlands, and similar. And we should fragmentate our large areas of arable land, avoid steppe landscape, as we have now in central and northern Lithuania, and probably some more green areas inside the cities.
By saying we, do you mean like Lithuania?
Yes.
Lithuania.
Yeah.
And what would your suggestion be for the whole of the region? I mean, the Baltic states and Poland, for example, because we are one region.
Some rules are common for all surrounded countries. But you see Poland in the southern part and southwestern part, and they have mountains. Mountainous climate are different from the plain climate. And these floods also were related to the mountain range. Probably it's so why we have no floods in the Lithuania and Latvia or Belarus.
Yeah, this was actually my next question. Mm-hmm. How come Poland is so close to us, mm-hmm. but Poland had that flood, a big flood, and we here in Lithuania, we didn't have anything of that kind. How come that happened?
It was very wet period in the southwestern of Poland, but very dry in the central and northeastern part of Poland. Almost the same dryness like in Lithuania.
Where we are. Okay. Yeah. Let's move on then. So new technologies such as renewable energy, carbon capture systems and green innovations play an important role in curbing climate change. So what technological advances could be key to combating global warming in the coming years?
I suppose the best carbon capture systems are swamps and old forests. You don't need to use drones to see the whole situation. Just look at the Google Maps and you will see some geometrically shaped big areas of absolutely 100% cutted areas.
What's your take on this technological advances? Where are we moving with all that stuff? Because at some point we definitely want green Europe, but sometimes it looks to me that we are just standing on one point and we are not really moving a lot somewhere.
Okay, there are quite different problems. For example, wind energy, it's very green, yes?
It is.
But it pollutes landscape. Landscape becomes not so attractive as was before. And also I know some problems with the birds breeding. For example, last year they argued about the wind farm in the sea.
Okay.
It's also not very good for sea landscape. From the other hand, for example, solar arrays, we had a lot of big areas covered by arrays, and they also pollute landscape.
Now you, as an expert, well, you tell me, what is like the best way out of this situation where we can get the green energy without polluting or with less polluting than we do right now?
Probably we can combine some source of energy. For example, some countries have more hydropower stations, some probably very safe nuclear power stations, like in France.
So those rising global temperatures are already, as we've already mentioned that a bit, are already driving species to extinction and destroying ecosystem, which you've already said that, which is bad for sea landscape and all that stuff. So how would global warming change the structure of ecosystems, and what steps should be taken to preserve biodiversity?
Even now we have already some shift of invasive species from the south, probably, or
yes,
from
we do.
other region.
Surely we do. Surely we do.
Both in water and ecosystem and in the land ecosystem, both.
Can we stop this? Is it bad that all those ecosystems that are moving from south to the north, is it bad for us?
For example, spruce are dying now, not only in Lithuania, but also in Poland, in Czech, in Eastern Germany. I just traveled around and I saw many forests which are drying up. But main species spruce, probably because of warmer summers, warmer and drier summers, and something will replace them in forests.
So there's a question then: is there something that can be done, or are we just facing the reality?
I suppose that some species or percentage of some trees will change very quickly. And in our country, I don't know who can replace spruce.
I see.
Maybe pine.
Okay, so then my final question would be, what's your take on the picture in general? Are we doing good regarding climate change, and what next urgent steps should be taken to, I don't know, to avoid some catastrophes? That
We do a lot of commercial. For example, we do a day without car. Also, we talking too much about green energy and so much. But we're cutting forest.
Anything else that you would mention?
This is an adaptation measures. And from the mitigation measures view, we should stop, not only stop, but probably to decrease emissions of CO2 or greenhouse gases. But our region is not the main polluter. China, Southern Asia, and some other regions are main polluters, and they don't care about any agreements, I guess.
And I guess that is more of a political question.
Right.
Okay, but anyway, if anyone from China hears us here, so please stop cutting trees.
Right.
Okay, Gintautas, thank you so much for this in-depth interview, for this in-depth analysis, and I really hope to see you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to remind our viewers that our guest for today was the head of Department of Hydrology and Climatology at Vilnius University, Gintautas Stankūnavičius. You're watching TVP World. Stay with us.